explore. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah. That's
it's,
amazing.
of course, everyone wants to skip as much work as they can. I think the best advice is to listen and to talk to people.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hello.
morning. How are you?
I'm good. What about you?
Very good. Thank you so much.
Right.
I'd love to dive in. I
Okay.
kind of ended up, here by not by chance, but
hmm
just by kind of some random occurrences. So I just actually graduated college in 2021, started
Okay.
working at a real estate tech startup straight out of
Okay.
college. And eventually that actually ran out of money, which is, sad, but I was doing all of the operations there, doing some account management, marketing, kind of all of that generalist type of thing. So that really inspires me, and I really love, being able to do all that different kind of stuff.
All right.
Um, but after that, I went to a property management software company
Okay.
doing business systems. So I was kind of the bridge between the company and the engineers at that point. So
I
whenever
see.
someone needed something done, automations, anything like that,
hmm
I was the one who's kind of like helping them define what they're going to do, how we can best do it. And I'd write all those requirements and then work with the engineers to get them going. So that was kind of my first step into like what a product management process kind of looks like, but I
I
wasn't
see.
exactly on the product. So I was there for about a year and then moved to Mermaid Chart here,
All
which
right.
is totally different landscape. We do diagramming with text
Yes.
and text, and that works so well with AI compared to Appfolio, where I was working with property management software
I
and
see.
kind of we're just starting AI there. So not too much experience at Appfolio, but the past, 6, 7 months that I've been here has been a roller coaster. The AI obviously is like such a revolution in every industry pretty much, and
Truly.
diagramming is different. So there's so much to be done with diagramming. You can have it do anything. Like AI works so well with just the text-based kind of style that we create diagrams with. Yeah, so the biggest challenges so far is, of course, everyone wants to skip as much work as they can. When they're making a flow chart, they want to just paste
Of
everything that
course.
they can. And AI is so close to being like so good. The biggest thing that we're, challenged with right now is
Mhm.
just making sure that the output is actually accurate. So some examples are, like you can do so much with the AI. One of them is like you can take a whole YouTube transcript and paste that just directly into an AI and say,
Yes.
hey, make a flow chart with mermaid syntax. It's pretty good, but there's
Okay.
still some inaccuracies there. So like the trust factor is something that we're still working on because Mermaid Chart as a platform is kind of complex for non-technical people because it is text-based. It's based on markdown style text that kind of looks like code. So people who are not familiar with that are pretty intimidated when they first come to it.
Okay.
And so what we need to do is the AI output needs to be obviously as good as possible and accurate so that people can actually trust it and use it, and then just make the small tweaks. If someone gets a diagram that's way off, that doesn't actually help them all that much. So we are getting a lot closer, and then we're just trying to figure out how can we make it a lot easier for people to go in and make that 100% accurate. So Mermaid, just as a system being text-based, actually lends itself so much better to getting an output from AI. If you go
Okay.
to like Lucidchart or Miro, they do have some AI capabilities, but when they have that output, it's not very good. It's not close to what you actually asked it. And AI, like these, OpenAI, Claude, things like that, can write mermaid syntax so much easier than it can just output images or flowcharts or nodes like that. So when it can actually translate the context you're giving it into like markdown style code,
Mhm.
it's so much faster, easier, and more accurate when it's done that way. So Mermaid Chart is super differentiated because just simply because of that text-based aspect where the diagram, is completely tied to the text. It's not completely, drag and drop
Mhm.
like a whiteboard. But since it is that text, it's a lot more, rigid in some aspects, but it's so much better with getting an output from AI. So our diagrams are so much more accurate than like those other, type of whiteboard. So Mermaid is super interesting because it was an open source project started about 8 years ago.
Oh, that's great.
And yeah, so it
Um,
started out kind of with the need of the author and Mermaid Chart's founder now was kind of like, oh, I'm using Visio to do so much, but Markdown is, a new kind of style that's coming out. And there should just be a lot better ways to actually make diagrams. So he started the open source library and it just really took off because again, that text, the markdown style works so well. You can store it in Git, you can use it in GitHub, Notion, your, markdown note apps like Obsidian, things like that. And the diagram self-designs itself. You can write a really quick and dirty diagram. So that's kind of how Mermaid, the open source side, started. But about a year ago, the author got some investment from Open Core Ventures, which is Sid Sijbrandij's venture fund. He's the CEO of GitLab. And so he started this fund to kind of look into open source projects that are really popular, people like, and wants to put some investment behind them to help them grow. And
okay.
so that's what he did with Canute, who is our founder, and that happened about a year ago. And
Okay.
so now Mermaid Chart was born, and what we're doing on top of that is we're actually integrating AI into the Mermaid syntax, the Mermaid project. We're giving a better editor. We have also done a new visual editor so people can actually like do some of the clicking and changes if they'd like, so they don't have to just stick to the text if they don't want to. Um, but the major challenges of that is Mermaid, the open source, is so prominent, so huge, and Mermaid Chart is a very brand new thing. And so, of course,
Okay.
like the differentiation between the two is pretty unique and something that, we have to hit a little bit harder. Uh, Trying to think of the other main challenges. Yeah, the other challenges is, like as we're trying to go to this bigger audience, like I mentioned before, non-technical people are super interested kind of in this aspect of like self-designing diagrams, using AI, but that markdown style text is just so intimidating to so many people. So software engineers, they can pick it up super quick and they
I
can,
see.
run with it right away. But these non-technical people, like, they're so
Like you.
excited to get AI
Yeah,
outputs and they get that diagram and then they're looking at this whole wall of text and they have no idea what to do. And
I
so,
see.
they can go and learn it. It's pretty easy to pick up, but that's not like intuitive to, your non-technical users. And so we're trying to figure out how we can match like those use cases. So, we have people that are visualizing code bases. We have people who are students and they're visualizing their lectures by just posting their notes. So there's so many different use cases for Mermaid Chart and the AI,
Yeah.
and we're trying to figure out what is most impactful for people and how we can like double down on that. So kind of like the broad uses are also kind of a
Right.
struggle that we're going against. So the Mermaid Chart platform is totally doable with organizations and teams. And what's great about that is that you can collaborate in real time. So you can make your documentation. People can come in, they can add comments, they can make notes on your diagram. They can
Okay.
actually build it with you if they would like.
Okay.
They can do all the same editing with you. And so how that's great for documentation is you can have one user, who might be tackling the project on their own. They can
Hmm.
go and do like the first pass or so. They can highlight all the areas where they might need help, and someone can come in, see all of their comments, notes, all of the structure. They can actually see the syntax on like how the person built it and how they're connecting things. And that gives them great insight, obviously, into how the person works. If you're a manager, it's very important like to kind of like get that view of someone.
Okay.
But it's also great because then you can go check all their work and you can do all this super easily asynchronously. So
Yeah.
that's one major advantage is you don't have to be on the phone with someone and be like, oh, this is our process. You can actually go and build it and then do all of that asynchronous communication without actually ever leaving Mermaid Chart itself. So security is a huge thing. We have, some people that are, in government, so they have really high security needs. For the general population, we encrypt all of our diagrams, so we can't even see any of the syntax. We can't see any of your content, anything like that. So that is not available. Everything is encrypted on our end. If you are super high security, or like on an enterprise license or things like that, we do SSO, but we also do on-premise installations for those people
Okay.
that have like really high security needs, like the government contractors or things like that. So we can actually install Mermaid Chart directly in your servers so that no one else could ever interact with it. So we have that. And then we're also kind of in the process of getting our SOC 2 attestation. So we're still, working on that. But in terms of actual security and privacy, we have encrypted everything. And if you have those super high needs, like we can directly install into your servers. Yeah, so one of my like most exciting conversations that I've had with a user before is working with him on how he could actually use AI to document his whole code base. So it's really interesting. He had 5,500 lines of code, and he did not want to go read all of that and like figure out what everything is doing because he wanted to just do this quick and dirty so he could give it to some new engineers. And so what is most exciting for me is that he was able to go into Claude AI and use that to get an entire massive flowchart from 5,500 lines of code. He just
Oh
pasted the
my.
entire thing, didn't have to give it any context because he was just able to paste it. And so that was really interesting because he said that output was able to save him like so many hours of time. 5,500 lines
Too
digging through all
much.
of that is, a pretty big commitment. So, that's just like one example. The other things that I personally have been really impressed with is like this is probably a silly use case, but I was just looking for some like anniversary gifts for my girlfriend. And
Okay.
so I just typed into the AI and like gave all the context like, oh, I live in Santa Barbara.
Right.
She likes these things. Can you make me a flow chart on like gifts I can get and where I can get them? And it was able to tell me specific stores near me, like tell me what to
Oh,
do, give me all these ideas. And so that's my personal success is like it's so impressive that it can give me super exact instructions and that I didn't have to, spend so much time like, oh, which store is best? Like it gave me all those suggestions too. So AI is, of course, the forefront of pretty much everything nowadays. What I'm really excited about is building our own LLM between
all
all of
right.
these models. So
Okay.
our plan, with ChatGPT 4.0, there's some incredible, voice to AI. We've had a lot of users who want to just like record their call meetings and then just instantly have a diagram off of that. So this trend of, more voice to AI is something I'm super interested in.
Right.
Also, the emergence of all these models like Claude and OpenAI, Llama, all these other ones. What we're going to do in the near term is we're going to fit all of those into Mermaid Charts AI. So depending on your use case, depending on what you're trying to do, we're going to select the best model for you to get the best output possible. And then we're actually going to fill the gaps with our own LLM. So we'll be learning based on those outputs on, what our LLM can do to make your outputs more accurate, look better, be more professional and presentation ready. We want to really like help users skip everything. So kind of just the general AI, getting better, voice, and our own LLM are some really interesting things I'm excited about. So I am the sole product owner at Mermaid Chart right now. So if
All right.
anybody has feedback, I would love to hear it.
All right.
I would say we are super responsive. I am trying to track down people to talk to all the time.
Okay. That's
I just had two customer interviews actually right before this. So I love feedback. I want to hear all of it. And one of the things that we've just recently heard is that Mermaid Chart outputs are cartoonish. And, so that, kind of stings the ego a little bit of some of my team members, but
Yeah.
that is really great feedback. They want it to be presentation ready so that they can show it to their boss, be comfortable like showing it to a C-suite executive or things like that. And Mermaid Chart traditionally has just been for engineers where they want to do something quick. It usually lives, in VS Code or wherever they're working. But we are starting to build more towards being presentation ready, being professional, something that you can do very quickly, like you are used to, but also can feel comfortable showing someone who's higher up that's going to like use this as a mark of your performance. So we want to help you do that with the AI, the styling. And so what we are actually doing into practice right now is we're in the process of making more professional diagrams. So we're working on a brand new thing that's going to be similar to some other tools like Visio. That's, kind of standard in some of these larger enterprises. We're going to make the lines cleaner, the nodes look sharper. We're going to change the colors. And so that's one small example. But what we're actually doing right now is still just like bouncing that feedback off of these people and being like, oh, well, is this more professional? Like, does this look more like what you're imagining? And so we're super responsive to that. Of course, that we're a very small team, so we try to do everything we can, but sometimes, if it's a very niche request, we can't always get it to it right away, but we always want to build for the people. So what I'm thinking about Mermaid Chart is that AI is something that we want to tackle first, right? We want to be able to get the output as perfect as possible, but that's not the long-term vision. What we want to do is you can build diagrams to do documentation, you can use it to plan. There's a lot of uses for it. There's a lot of reasons not to do it also. For some people, the reasons to do it are so much better than the reasons not to, of course. But people, when they're doing a project, they're like, documentation slows me down, or I don't want to do that, I can do it without it, that kind of stuff. And what we want to do is we want to help people make the charts that do the documentation, but we also want to turn those diagrams into actually something that's usable. And so we want to execute processes, we want to do workflows, we want to help you build and plan your processes, but actually still execute them at the same time. So that's kind of the long-term vision is, we want to solve this problem of, the long kind of drag it takes to do documentation. We want to solve that. And then we want to help you solve the efficiency aspect of actually executing all of that. So I would say, obviously from the business perspective, we're looking at, how often do people trial after they sign up? Like, what is the conversion rate? Are people actually enjoying the trial? Are they signing up after the fact? That's one thing that we are, constantly tracking from the business side. How can we actually deliver value and show that value? So that's the business side, of course. Revenue and all of those things are really important. Measuring customer satisfaction is still a little more tricky because you have to depend on them telling you a lot of times. But we're also trying to pick up on usage and data on what features aren't working and how we can be better. So if we release a new feature for our visual editor where people can click and we see usage go down, we can say, okay, people are not, they don't like that, or we could be better there. The customer satisfaction also, we're just tracking on the cancellation end. We have a brief survey as people are exiting on hey, can you give us feedback? And we're just trying to figure out how we can improve and be better there. And also if it's just not quite a fit. So we have some users who are canceling just because they're like, oh, I don't diagram too often, so it doesn't make sense to have a subscription or anything. That stuff makes sense, but we're also using all of that feedback to be like, okay, are people actually satisfied when they start a trial? We get some people that will point out oh, the AI output wasn't super accurate, so I can't use this regularly. Like that type of stuff, we can be like, okay, that's something we can fix. That is a customer who wasn't super satisfied with what we have right now,
Okay.
but that feedback we can then take and kind of input into the product, and we can still monitor kind of, as people are canceling, as I talk to more people. And I guess that's it. And I feel like I already used my most exciting use case on the anniversary gifts,
Okay.
but I think what would be a dream scenario though
Mhm.
is kind of to plan out like the whole company vision and strategy and being able to
Amazing.
use the AI as like a counterpart to me rather than just putting down everything I know. It would
Okay.
be amazing to take the AI and kind of fill the gaps in my knowledge. So I can come and be like, this is our strategy as a company. Like, this is where we think we fit into the ecosystem, and actually have like a counterpart that will make suggestions and recommendations on what can be done. That would be like my dream mermaid chart. It's like, okay,
I'm
we as
sure
a
you.
company are, have these problems. We want to do X, Y, Z. Make me a whole plan on getting there, and it actually be accurate. That would probably be my dream. Is kind of our dream. There's so many co-pilot opportunities in GitHub, and Mermaid syntax is already usable there, so you can
Okay.
insert it super quickly. But
Mhm.
that would kind of be my dream collaboration, and something that we're actually trying to work towards right now,
Okay.
um, is getting into a GitHub Copilot program.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw, but they just announced that they're working on GitHub Copilot extensions,
Okay.
kind of similar to like ChatGPT GPTs. And so that would kind of be a dream collaboration to be like an extension with GitHub and working with them on integrating more of diagrams and documentation into people's work, and being able to kind of automatically do that too. So that would be the dream collaboration. Um, I mean, we want to work with anyone and everyone if we can, of course. This is a really interesting one. I talked to one guy who wanted to use mermaid charts to map out the New York City subway metro map,
Okay.
which is, yeah. So like we do have a diagram in there that kind of looks like a metro map, like gives lines and like you kind of have stops along the way. He wanted to do that for New York City's subway as kind of like a test so that he could build this for his D&D campaigns.
Okay.
He really wanted to, for Dungeons and Dragons, he wanted to map out like where the campaign is going to start, where the cities are all along the way, and kind of use that to like plan a whole campaign.
Okay.
So I'd
Interesting.
say it's kind of the most interesting use case I've heard from a user so far. I think the best advice is to listen and to talk to people.
Yes.
Um, yeah, there's no better way to figure out how to build or what to build than to get advice from people who have already done it, and to
Agree.
get the feedback directly from the people that you're going to build for. You don't want to go and build something and then try to sell it to this, group of people over here without ever talking to them. It's so much easier to talk to them and be like, this is what you want, this is what you need, these are your problems. Okay, now I can actually solve something for you. So that's just the number one piece of advice is like listen, always be learning, and gather as much feedback as you can. I think just in terms of, AI and moving forward with that, I think I would say go test out all of the models with whatever use case you're trying to build for, and figure out which one kind of works best for what you're trying to do. So go prompt everything, get good at prompt engineering, and figure out what output closely aligns with the use case you're trying to go with, and then kind of implement that, and then try to figure out how you can make it better in your own system. So there's a few different ways. Of course, you can just check out mermaidchart.com, and once you get into the system, we'll send you regular like product updates.
Okay.
We have a Discord as well if you're
Okay.
interested in joining that.
Okay.
Um, but for latest updates, you can follow us on LinkedIn or Twitter. We post all of our new podcast or articles, blog posts, all of that, so you can keep up to date just by following us on LinkedIn. Of course, you can always reach out to me at any time. I'm super happy to help. Yeah. Well, I would say if you are interested in diagramming at all or AI in this space, please talk to me. I would love to hear all of your thoughts and everything.
Okay.
So yeah, hit me up on LinkedIn or just reach out on our website and I will be there.
Okay, thank you so much, Dominic, for your time. It was actually interesting to know the stories, the usual cases that you had.
Great.
Interesting. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.